Hi, my name is Lauren Pluhoff, and I'm going to be sharing what I did for my internship. I just finished up my internship about a week or two ago, and I was able to work in the elementary school in my town. I live in Oregon, and the elementary school that I worked at, the name of it is Lewis and Clark. Um, I got pretty lucky with finding my internship. My dad's always been involved in teaching, and when we moved to Oregon, he became a principal, and he's been a principal for about 5 years now. So I knew from him, I knew the counselor, I knew teachers, and I definitely knew that I wanted to do something with children and with education, and so being able to put those things together, I was able to arrange my internship with the school counselor at my dad's school, and it worked out really well. So, her and I got together and we talked about our schedules, and she had just had a baby in November, so we figured out what time was best for us, and then we figured out when we could work this out. When you're helping out with a school counselor, there are a lot more responsibilities than I ever expected. Um, I guess growing up, you don't really think that a school counselor is involved in many things if you don't ever have to go to her or him. And so for me, when I was doing my internship, I realized how much they're actually a part of. So I'm just going to go down this list and briefly talk about each thing that I was involved in. The first thing was called the check-in and check-out program. I think a lot of schools use it. It's kind of a program for kids who are struggling with any like behavior issues or focusing on class. And it's like this point sheet, and every day the kid can come in and kind of pick a goal that they want to work on for that day. And then teachers can award them points for how well they're keeping up with that goal. And then after a certain amount of times that they have good days, they can have a party, they can just have time with a school counselor for lunch, just different kind of rewards. Another thing that I really did not know the school counselors were a part of is classroom lessons. Um, I had never seen a school counselor do this growing up, and so it was a shock to me. But they, in the school I was at, she taught 30-minute lessons 3 times a day, every single day of the week. They were about different topics each week. There was like careers, bullying, responsibility, respect, tolerance, all that stuff. And then the next thing that we did was I helped out a lot with student council. I think there was like 60 student council kids all together, and we had meetings probably 2 or 3 times a month. So I made sure to always be there on those days because it was fun working with those kids, and they planned a ton of projects and we set up fundraisers. The next thing I helped out with was Student of the Month. Every month we had a Student of the Month assembly, and I would help make and give out awards. The next thing was conversations. We had the check-in and check-out kids, and then we would just have individual students that needed to come in and talk about things that they were struggling with or issues going on in the home, and those were conversations that I was always a part of. Another thing was groups. The school counselor would kind of evaluate kids that kept coming in with different struggles or would kind of see a pattern with different students, and she would put them into groups, and together she would meet with them once a week and kind of go over the topic that they were struggling with, so like friendships or self-esteem or bullying or whatever it may be. And so we did those once a week, and I think she had 4 different groups, but I only was a part of 2. The last thing was parties, and that was kind of what I mentioned with the check-in and check-out group. It was just one of the reward systems, but I was involved in a lot of parties. Oftentimes there was 1 or 2 a day that I was there. I was usually there Wednesdays and Fridays of every week. There were a lot of benefits for doing my internship with a school counselor. Like I mentioned, I knew that I wanted to do something with education and with kids, and I had been in the L-Ed major for almost 3 years, but I just didn't like the lesson plan part of it every single day, and it was just a little too structured, I guess, for me, and so it was awesome working with the students. It gave me really good insights into what my career would be and the experiences I would have, and I gained really good staff and student relationships. I already knew a few of the staff members because they go to our ward, but I was able to meet so many people and kind of see their take on a classroom and see how they manage their kids and see how every teacher is different and how the school counselor kind of brings everybody together. The school counselor I worked with likes to call herself the middleman because she communicates to the principal and then she communicates to the secretaries and she communicates to the teachers. And so she's always communicating with everybody. So it was kind of nice to see her interact with the different teachers, and then I was able to interact with them and just kind of get to know how that all works together. And then the students, of course, it was so fun being with them. They it's so funny how they totally need role models, and there was one teacher that came up to me and said something along the lines of, you know, school is one of the for some students, school is the only constant thing in their life. And so when you think about that and you go in to the schools with that kind of mindset, it makes you more patient and more kind and just more loving with the kids. And I was only there for a couple months, but I know so many of them now, and we're friends, and they'll come up and hug me and ask me how my weekend was. And that's partly why I think the school counseling part is easier for me than teaching, because with teaching you kind of have to have like the boundaries between friends and friendly. But with school counselors, like, she would hug them, she would, talk to them, and I feel like that was so much more comfortable for me rather than having to not be like that, I guess. I definitely gained a big love for this career. I just think school counselors do so much to help students, and growing up I always just felt like I needed to be helping those that were struggling or, weren't as privileged, I guess, as me, or I don't know. It puts your life in such a better perspective, and you realize how blessed you are, and it makes you want to help others, and I think that's why it was a perfect fit for me. It definitely made me feel a lot more comfortable with where my career was, or my educational path was going. I think it's hard to know for sure if you're in the right direction until you go out and experience it. And so for me, this gave me so much comfort in what I was doing. I just mentioned perspective, so I'll just go along to atmosphere. I have a job aside from my internship, and the atmosphere is totally different. The school is so nice to be a part of because everybody is so professional, and they're so kind, and they're so willing to help and talk to you and be supportive. And so it's a great atmosphere to be in every single day. I wrote down a few recommendations for, like, if you are thinking about doing this or thinking about becoming a school counselor and you're wanting to do your internship. The first one is kind of obvious, but it's a great experience if you want to learn how to be a school counselor if you're not totally sure. I would say take advantage of the time that you have if you're kind of in between, not really sure. Even if you go work in a school for a month, even if you just job shadow the school counselor for a month, you'll be able to see if it's the right fit for you, and if it is, then it won't be time wasted, and if it's not the right fit for you, then you will know, and you can, find something else. But it was a great experience. One thing I really loved about the school counselor I worked with was that she was super open with me. I was always a part of the conversations with the kids, and then if there happened to be a time that I was out of the room or I was doing something else for her, as soon as I came back, she would fill me in on exactly what just happened, what the kid was struggling with, what we could do. Like, we were always working together on everything, and it was really nice because I never fell out of the loop. That kind of goes along with the next thing, where you should really be a part of everything the school counselor is doing. And that might not be the same way for every school. It might have just been different because I knew her already, but I was able to do each and everything. There's meetings you can be involved in. There's, the student council stuff, the classroom lessons, everything. Make sure you get yourself a part of it, because then you'll really know for sure if that's something that you want to do. The last thing I wrote down for recommendation was to be in a school where you can gain relationships with the staff. Like I said, the atmosphere was awesome, and being able to learn from other adults that are older than me and are more experienced than me and just see what my future could be like. And it just made me so much more comfortable. So it was nice to be in a school where the staff was welcoming to me and wanted my help and needed my help and felt like they could come ask me for a favor if they needed to leave the room for a few minutes or if they needed help with a kid. They knew that I was there. And so it was really nice being able to get to know the staff. That's all for my presentation. Hopefully you enjoyed and learned a little bit more about being a school counselor. Thanks.